Well, thank you so much for coming on,
Thanks
Tabytha.
for having me, Faith.
For everybody listening, Tabytha is my first non-family member guest.
No pressure.
no pressure for me personally. And I met her when I joined York Pilates about like a year and a half ago at this point. And I feel like when I do fitness, like I'm like invested, like I'm coming every day doing the thing, but it takes like the other half of the instructors to also like mutually invest in the people who are the frequent comers and like whatever. And we could easily have just like never even introduced ourselves, just been like totally like, hi, good to see you, like what do you want to work on today in class? But I think it takes like a special person like yourself to really be so invested in the people that you're teaching, and you care about them as like human beings. And I don't think it was so easy to start to like you and then want to always come to your class, and no matter where you were, if it was Soho or Bowery or West Village or Flatiron, like I wanted to come to your class all the time.
And I appreciate that, because when I first started, I got so nervous because so many performers and just a different clientele that I wasn't used to. Mm-hmm. And so to have someone named Faith that was such a sweet person, like it was so easy to remember you because you were just so receptive to feedback and like came in so focused about yourself, and it wasn't about like being better than the person next to you or just thinking that you knew more than anyone else. And so like I gravitated towards you as well. So I'm so grateful. And I fucking love your mom. She's so awesome.
Oh my gosh, she's gonna love that. You're listening, Mom. But I guess that's a great place to start. Well, actually, I just found out like a day ago that Tabytha's moving back home to Pittsburgh. Well, like whatever, a week. And she's been here, how many years have you been in New York?
13 years. I moved here 2012.
Wow.
I might be bad at the math. I think it's 13. It is.
13. So that's like, you can classify yourself as a New Yorker now.
I know, and it's horrible. Just kidding. I've had the best time.
Yeah. No.
But I'm ready for the suburbs.
And she's ready, and she's moving. And I asked her to come on this podcast like literally a year ago and never was able to follow through for a number of reasons. And I texted her this last week and I was like, hey, do you want to come record the podcast? And she's like, yeah. It has to be this week because I'm moving. I'm like, okay, it's so sad, but like the serendipity of me all of a sudden feeling like I wanted to text you and like actually action this. And then you're like, I'm moving. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I did that.
Everything works out the way it's supposed to. Like, honestly, I'm so thankful to be doing this. That takes me out of the packing loop of like all the logistics and the mindset shift from being a New Yorker where it's always busy and something to do and just people around always have to be on guard almost to a sense, to going to Western Pennsylvania, like to the suburbs of Pittsburgh. And I'm so excited. Like, it is its own metropolitan, but there's nothing like New York, and so I have to get my mindset ready for that and like find that ease and be okay with doing less or being around less,
Right. So you're looking forward to calming your nervous system.
Yes.
What do you think you'll miss about New York?
The diversity, the food options. I'm sure Pittsburgh has wine delivery, but New York was like first and foremost of those things.
Yeah, all the classes I remember, I was trying to think of something funny to give you, but you'd always talk about, you're like, pretend like there's a martini on your back. I'm like, honestly, that's a great cue. I will not be moving.
Okay, because like drinks in New York, they are expensive like no other. Like, not wasting $25 drink. You better pull it together.
No, seriously.
I'm just excited to be closer to my parents because they still live there and like have more accessibility to my sister and her family because my nieces are not getting younger and I want to be there and not just like a holiday auntie, And my dogs be able to be around them more and not have to like be rushing in and out of the house, wake up so early, take them out to go pee and just have an easier way of life.
No, seriously. So you kind of saw this day coming when you would move out of the city?
Honestly, yes and no. I thought that I would leave if I was like getting married or having a baby, like some kind of big life event. I just never imagined it would be me taking the reins of my own life and like building my brand, building myself as a brand and being comfortable, being visible, like seen and not being like working under someone else type of situation, which is interesting because my mom's mom and my dad's mom, they both were entrepreneurs, but then my parents went the complete opposite of like working for a corporation for 40 years and then like you get your pension, and my mom was a homemaker / part-time school teacher here and there. And that's not the life we live in. Like my sister, she's had multiple different jobs in different sectors, and I have worked in so many different jobs, and that's like not what my parents are used to. And so they're excited, but also just apprehensive because it is a lot of work, as you know, building your own stuff from the start. Like you're doing everything, learning how to do everything, and there's a lot of components.
There's a lot. But it's like children. Like when people are like, oh my God, like we don't really know what to expect. I'm like, there's so many families out here. There's so many parents. I'm like, how did they figured it out?
True. I don't know.
There's so many business owners. And like, honestly, you probably experience this too, but sometimes I meet people and I'm like, how the heck? How do you have that much money? Like, you're like not all there. Like, what's going on? But people figure it out. People just do it. And I see them and I'm like, okay, if they can do it, then like I definitely can.
Exactly. And find the people that want to support you to like get you to those areas. The universe will bring you around the right people to push you further ahead. If you're aligned with like your truest self and doing it for yourself and not for like an outside perspective.
I think that's a great segue into like kind of what brought you into Pilates, and like you had mentioned you'd done a lot of things prior and like your family a little bit. I think one of my immediate observations about you is that you're extremely deep, you're extremely thoughtful, like you really want to see people and like connect with people and understand them, but that comes from like that's like a gift to have that in you. So I'm like curious if that part of yourself, have you always been that way? If your parents have always asked you like very like thought-provoking questions, or like you've been observant of people's emotions and feelings, like why are you the way you are that?
I think
just throw it out there.
Big one.
Yeah.
I think a little bit of both. I'm a Cancer, so like I'm very emotional. I feel things easily. Even though Cancer's get a bad rap, but like we're the mother of the zodiac, so whatever. Yeah. The mama. My friends would tell you that I'm like the mama bear, even though I know how to turn up of a Sag moon. But you know, time and a place for things. You like mature and you get different. You become better. But my parents, like my dad was a chemist. My mom has her master's degree. Like they're very intelligent people. And so my dad is very much a devil's advocate. And he's like, well, what about this? What about that? So they definitely gave me the analytical part of my brain, but as far as the emotions, that's God. That's the universe, just me not being able not to feel other people. Like when I first moved here and I would have to get on the train super early in the morning, I'd be happy when I would wake up. Like I just moved here teaching Pilates at the time. And the time I would get to work, I would be like so pissed off and just angry and just feel agitated. And I realized there's so many different people on the train. Like I pick up that shit easily. Yeah. So then like my mom helped me have this strategy of like you put this kinesphere bubble around yourself, so you're kind of like blocking out the negative stuff. And then I've learned about stones and just different pendants to wear to kind of block negativity away, because it's always out there, and like we all have a shadow side, but it's how do you decide to use it versus like shun it and then it blurts out in different kinds of ways. But I feel like if you're not feeling, you're dead. So as annoying as the energy it takes to feel all of the emotions, if you don't feel them, then you're going to crash and burn. And I don't know how any other way to be.
Were you like that as a kid?
Absolutely. I would always try to, if I saw somebody that didn't have somebody to play with in like grade school or have someone to sit with, I would go talk to that friend or just make sure that I would bounce around, even though I could have been a cool kid or whatever. I just chose to try to include everybody. Like everybody wants to be seen, and there's space for everybody. That's what confuses me about the world. We all can win. We're all in our own lane. There's no competition. Like you're your competition. Do better than yourself. Do it for you. Do it for your family, but not even for your family. Like do it for yourself, and then it will help your family.
Right. Yeah. How did you last 13 years here when within the first year you were calling your mom asking, how am I going to balance these emotions I'm experiencing?
I have a very strong support system and went the very much traditional cookie cutter way of like high school, undergrad. The recession happens. I graduated high school 2006, graduated undergrad 2010, and like the world as we know it like was kaplunk. And I wanted to move to Houston to be a dancer down there in a company, but then my parents gave me an ultimatum. They're like, yeah, you can do this, but you have to apply to at least one graduate school. Okay. And so I had not missed the deadline for FSU, and I didn't have to take the GRE if I had a 3.0, so I was Gucci for that. And loved the campus. It was beautiful. My mom and I got to take a trip together there and spend like a week or weekend together. Got into the program, got some money, changed my residency to a Floridian, and moved to Tallahassee just to like have that, at least you know what to expect when you're in school. Like school can be annoying, but I'm very good at school. I like to learn. Like that's, I thrive off of learning stuff. So my family is very supportive. I moved to New York with Florida State University. They have a FSU and NYC program. That's the only thing that brought me to the city. I used to talk so much shit on New York. I'm like, it stinks, so cliche. Like, I won't even watch Game of Thrones to this day because people love it so much. I'm just like, I don't want to hear about that. Like, I have to get into it myself. It can't be like such a wave of everybody. Now, White Lotus, I did and highly recommend it. So good. But New York was not in my cards. I came in undergrad with a few college friends. Did not feel safe. It was a summer day, a trash day, 42nd Street. I'd never seen garbage that was taller than me by leaps and bounds. I was like, what the fuck is this? This is glamour. And like Fifth Avenue was around the corner. This is what you want? Ew. It's like, I don't feel safe. I'm not with my family. You don't know where we're going. I'm on the train just like on guard all the time. But you make plans. Universe Labs, Florida State have a program, and I did that because like after I graduated, I didn't know what I really wanted to do, and I don't think like it was 2012 and the economy hadn't been changed that much. And so I was like, why not add a little extra semester and frolic through the city, do an internship, be forced to take dance classes, go to museums. I got to do a performance on the High Line Park because that had just opened whenever I moved here. So I've done a lot of cool shit. Got to see Sleep No More at the McKitterick Hotel. And fell in love with the city. Like, brunch in New York is like no other experience. And pre-COVID, where you would get overserved. So I remember this place called Barbonia, like near Union Square. And you could take your little champagne flask up to the bar, and they would just keep serving you champagne until it was dark. Start your day at 2:00 at like noon. It was like brunch reservations started at 11, maybe 10:30 at that time. So it was like a power few hours, and the next thing you know, you're taking pickleback shots later that night.
Literally. Wait, I still feel like it's like that. Maybe we've just
I don't have it in me anymore. I've done like the 4 a.m. night one time here, maybe 5 a.m. with the sun. Not for me. I need to sleep when it's dark. I like to do that. Same. You know, there's a time and a place. Like once in a while, somebody's in town, but living here is a different situation than coming to visit.
It is. 100%.
So I've always had like a community of people, whether it was my family. I couldn't complain to them about rats and stuff because my dad was like, you chose to live there. I called him one day as I had a fucking rat problem in my first brownstone. And I was so mad at him. He was like, well, this is what you wanted. I'm like, okay, bet. Word to self. Call a New York friend because, like, they don't get it.
They don't get it. I think that's so funny.
They don't understand. Is it? It was unsupportive. But I've lived through a lot, and now, like, I've learned different strategies and techniques that help my parents because they're landlords in Pittsburgh, and they have apartments, some storefronts, so that's where I'm opening the Pilates studio when I get back home. But without the community of my family, of my Florida State community, and even a few friends from Ohio University, that's where I went to undergrad, I wouldn't have survived, or like finding community within my workspaces, within the people that I've taught. And yeah, so I got a second French Bulldog from one of my students' parents. Like their family connected me with a breeder that they bought a dog with.
You were a teacher.
Yeah. So I just think the world thrives on connection. Like 7 degrees of separation doesn't really exist. It's like one, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And one of the high points of this week, 2 of my clients are from Cincinnati, and they both were in class earlier this week, and I made sure to like tell them that they're both from Cincy. They exchange information. Come to find out that one of the client's brothers went to school with the other client, and that their mothers have been trying to connect them for years. So like things like that make me so happy and joyful. And as much as I don't know what I'm doing, I feel like I'm the blind leading the blind.
Yeah. None of us do.
Thankful for like those kinds of moments, and like this, and like I think about your mom often because she like makes me so happy, and it's just such a kind person.
Yeah.
So glad I'm not on my moon cycle, so it'll be so much worse. But yeah, I feel stuff so easily.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful. A little nervous because like, you know, change is hard and growth is hard, but it's inevitable unless you die, and I'm very alive. So.
Right. I know.
Always something.
We're so fortunate to be on this earth and to be like have the option to go, have the free will to go move wherever we want.
I'm so grateful my family has an open door policy, as much as they don't want the dogs to come with. My mom is terrified of dogs, but
they're Frenchies.
She's
gonna fall in love.
I've seen her jump on a car. Mind you, my mom has multiple sclerosis, and so it affects everyone differently.
Yeah.
For her, she's legally blind, but you would see a picture of her and not know that at all.
Whoa.
One eye is completely blind, and the other one is like really bad glaucoma. In her 20s, late 20s, I believe it happened. Yeah, but my father has been very supportive. My mom still persevered and pushed through. And when I would go to dance classes growing up, she had this service called Access. It's kind of like an Uber, but different for like people with disabilities, and we pay with these little tickets. And so we always had a way to get to places, and we always got to places. And even the times that we couldn't get there, like it wasn't that she wasn't trying, like she did everything that she could do. And so learning how to drive was required. Like I needed to do that so I could get her and I around. When I was younger, I would be like a little more annoyed of like having to like help out a little bit more, but now that I'm older, I'm like, she's like my baby. I can't wait to go home and like borrow her clothes, like she's my little sister. But yeah, I don't know, I went on a tangent.
Yeah, no, that's fine. When you were like just talking about community and like bringing community from Iowa, from Florida, from Pittsburgh, and here, like when you moved to New York 13 years ago, how did you build community here? Was it just through Pilates and just like by doing things, or was it by introducing yourself to random people?
My Florida State University connections, that definitely helped me meet more people, like be outside and like have my face seen more, and keeping close to the people that really like touched my heart. And even though like I might not talk to them every single day, or even like maybe for a year or two at a time, but when you're with that person, you feel connected, just holding on to those. And so I still have a mentor that lives here, and she just performed at the Whitney Museum.
Wow.
I'm thinking it's Whitney. Yes, that's the one that's like down by Catch. Yes, where we are, over here. And that was so wonderful to see. She's a 70-year-old Black woman performing at the Whitney, having her own one-woman show. And she's been really helpful with me being comfortable of leaving the coops. I grew up in a very close-knit family, and I'm very loved, but I'm the black sheep. I don't like that term, but I'm the one that kind of beats to their own drum and kind of forces us all to kind of grow together. In sometimes traumatic ways and sometimes non-dramatic ways. But keeping those relationships, making sure that I go see art shows or just go outside, but I've had to learn how to like cut my energy off and not allow everyone access, because then you get a lot of different people from different walks of life. And because I look so welcoming and warm, I remember one of my first train rides to go to Trader Joe's downtown Brooklyn. I was just minding my business, like watching people on the train, trying to be aware. Next thing I know, this man starts sitting next to me and like thinks I'm trying to flirt with him. Like, oh my God.
I can't imagine. It probably has happened to you so many times. Like, you're probably asked for directions all the time.
Oh, I've learned just to keep that phone in your hand and like figure things out, go the wrong way. But it depends on the neighborhood and like the kind of people that are around. And yes, but you learn how to be very discerning. It's just interesting how it takes time for that discernment to transfer in all areas of life, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I've appreciated everything. I've held on to the people that mean something to me and the ones that are able to give me the grace that I give. Because, like, I'm not the best at the phone or communication. None of us are amazing at it.
It's hard. You're busy.
And tired. Like, the time that Friday comes, my God, I went on a date a few Saturdays ago, and I was like, I much rather be at my house.
That's a horrible realization to have when you're like sitting across from them. You're like,
before I even got there, Faith, before I even got dressed, when I got home and like had to change over and like switch things, I was like, I'm really gonna leave the house and not lounge on the couch with my dogs to go meet this man that I don't like that much, but he's interesting. He might be able to help me in the future, which we should take all relationships that way, like especially men.
How are you going to forward me in life?
Or get out of the way. That's I don't know. My parents are traditional, but my mom has always worked. My sister and brother-in-law, they both work, but like, I am a princess. I'm a baby. You need to like pamper me so that I can make your life better.
100%.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't want any more man children, and it doesn't matter what age. Like, but I do love being a Cancer because the guy I went on a date with, he's a Pisces, and he was trying to like emotionally manipulate me, and I was like, skirt. What we're not gonna do.
That was one thing I clocked on you too. It's like when we would talk about when you would bring up like astrology, and because I'm a Pisces,
I'm a high vibrational one. I love Pisces women, Pisces men. Other than my dog,
this is what I'm about to say.
POS.
You always, every time we talk about a male astrology, every single sign for a male was bad. Every single one. There's not a single good one.
I'm encountering all of the low vibey ones, but it's okay. You keep like curving them.
It's like, oh, Cancer woman, Libra woman, Scorpio woman. Oh, great. Oh, guys, horrible. I'm like,
because they gotta do the work. Women are like forced to do the work. We're always like, why not me? Why not this? And like you're forced to find that self-love, and then you're like your best version of yourself.
Right. I want to get into that a little bit deeper later, but you clearly have been like such a creative person and like find like true like self-expression through creativity and dance. Had you always been that way, and did your sister dance? Or
my sister did dance. She's the reason why I got into dance classes. Okay. She's 9 years older than me, and so I would go with my mom to my sister's dance classes. I'd be in the lobby dancing, go into the class sometimes. The girls would like spot me doing back handsprings and stuff.
So cute.
And as soon as I was old enough, my mom put me into dance classes when I was like 5 years old. My first dance was Under the Sea or some like aerial dance. Of course. It's like that was that was the vibe at the time. We like had these little sequence things on. That's the only thing I remember from it. But my mom put me, like, my parents were very sure to keep us busy because like they grew up in the South and the Midwest, so we didn't have a lot of immediate family around us, and so they wanted us in activities. And I think that's probably where the community aspect of me was built, because like whether it's like my school friends, I always had like academia friends, church friends, and then dance friends, right? And to be able to bounce around those different ways was really fun. But then just learning that you have friends or different people in your life for different reasons, and like there's a select few that really get to see all parts of you, but you learn that as you grow older and go through stuff.
Yeah.
But always dancing. And then I also always loved to paint nails. My mom had these wooden shelves that weren't finished, and I had a bunch of nail polish. My mom is very much into makeup and glamour and all of that. And I took it upon myself. So I would go to the nail shop with my mom, right? And I took a Sharpie marker and wrote down like Tabby's Nail Salon on the unfinished wood. 5 cents per color, and like had all the colors set up, all of it. I wonder if she still has a picture of it, but she was pissed. She was so mad. She's like, you ruined it. I was like,
it was meant for this.
But I stayed in dance all the way through high school, got to do competitions. I don't know if you're familiar with that show, Dance Moms. That's from my hometown.
From your hometown?
Yeah, she's in Murraysville, Pennsylvania, which is a sub-city of Pittsburgh, and I grew up in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. Okay. My sister used to go to Abby Lee's studio when her mom ran it.
Okay.
I didn't go there. My mom found like a nicer community of people to go to. Then I got to do some dance competitions, and when you're on stage with somebody, when you have to like have the same counts, be on the same beat, and the staging, so you're not kicking people, and like you can get that fucking score high, get your prize, get your ribbon and your trophy. You got to work together, and
that's a very energetic thing too. I've always felt that about dance. Like, like how are they in sync?
The counting, you're doing it in front of a mirror, and then eventually you do it out, not in front of the mirror, so you can feel each other, like you're using that periphery, like New Yorkers do. And I'm so confused in classes when I'm like, look down, like your shoulder is like off the way. Okay, you just keep doing what you're doing instead. But that, and I was a cheerleader in high school. I think I started in the 8th grade. And I also had a ultimatum. My dad was like, you could be a cheerleader if you also run track. He's like, you're not just going to cheer for people.
He's hilarious. You're not just going to entertain.
Very analytical people.
You know how to run away.
I was a jumper. I did do long distance for a little bit because we lived close to the school.
Okay.
And I would run to my house and go get a snack and then go back to practice.
Oh my God.
But I jumped. I did like the high jump. I did the pole vault for a little bit because I was a gymnast, and so I liked just throwing myself around. And then I was a cheerleader, and that was a really fun time. I think that's the first time I really noticed the competition within girls, because like I didn't cheerlead in grade school, right? It's like they had a community, like a city community municipal cheerleading team. I did dance. I didn't do cheerleading, so like there was already like cliques in their own community of people. And so when I came in, I was like an outsider. I practiced by myself the first year in my parents' family room doing back handsprings.
Oh, that's so classic.
My mom was like watching me and like helping me through that. And then the first year I like flourished. The coach made me a captain. And then the girls were like, oh, yeah, come practice with us. Do this, da-da-da-da-da. But I loved cheerleading. It was fun to be able to go to the games and, like, get to wear your uniform on Fridays.
Bring people happiness.
Yeah. But I hated making signs. I would always get the underclassmen to do it for me. And I'm like, I'll get the donuts. You make the signs.
Yeah. Fair trade-off.
Yeah.
You've always been, like, a leader. Like, I feel like people have always, like...
Because I like to listen to people. I can't be bossy. Some people will tell you that I am bossy, but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm just very certain of myself. And if I don't know something, then I'm not afraid to say I don't know.
Yeah, that's helpful.
A lot of people don't like to do that, but like, what is shame in that? I gotta look into that. I'll get back to you. There's so much power in not giving an answer.
I'm like, life is so unserious. Like... Literally.
Wild times.
It's wild.
Yeah.
That must have been so nice for your mom with her multiple MS that she is able to like watch her daughters. Cause just you and your sister.
Yeah, just us.
Yeah,
two.
like watch you guys be like so like mobile and free and like limitless. Is that nice for her? Has she like talked about that at all, or
not too much? Because I see her as limitless as much as like she does have boundaries.
So nice. Yeah.
She's always made a way. Like we never had to wait for a friend to pick us up, whether it was like her making friends with somebody in preschool because they lived like up the block from us, so they could drive us to school. But she's always made a way. She's a born leader. My mom's a Taurus, and she's just very headstrong and a very caring person. But I don't think she talks about it that way. But I'm really proud of her because she's outlived her mother and like gets to see my sister be a mom and have a relationship with the children where they're going to remember her for such a long time. It's like her mother passed away maybe before she turned 60, possibly, like from breast cancer, like came aggressively. I was young, like maybe 5 or 6 when it happened. So, like, I understood what death was, but then when the funeral came, I was like, oh my God, all these family members. I've never seen all these people before. Right. So it was like a celebration, which my mom was born in New Orleans, and I fully believe that death is a celebration. Like, energy has to shift. That's the only way that we can continue on. So that's how I've stayed in New York, like from my ancestor team, from my family, and staying within community.
And then how did your mom and your dad meet then?
In college. They're like very cute.
Okay, cute story.
Not today. I thought I was gonna have that same love story. Incorrect. They met in college. My mom skipped maybe a grade or 2 when she was younger.
No flags.
And my dad is 2 years older than my mom, but they were at the university together. And my mom will tell it like she had a roster of people, but he was at the top of the list. And they got married after college. Got married, then they moved to, because they went to school in St. Louis, a school called McMurray. And then they moved to St. Louis. My dad worked for Alcoa, the aluminum company of America. And he got transferred from the St. Louis branch to Pittsburgh. And so that's how we ended up in Pittsburgh. And they had my sister maybe 5-6 years after they got married. And then another 9 years until they had me. But my sister grew up in Plum, which is a different suburb of Pittsburgh, but the house that I was brought home to from the hospital, that's the house that they still live in.
To this day?
Yeah. Whoa. It used to be like farm area, and then it's no longer a farm. It's a cul-de-sac, like a suburban cul-de-sac, not the ones from New York by the projects. I didn't know. I didn't know there was different kinds of cul-de-sacs until I moved here. Because in my mind, it's like... Crown Heights, you learn a lot of things. Yeah. But it's like a street you go up, it's up a hill, and then it's like this literal circle, like this table. And my house sits low, the last house on the right. But the cul-de-sac that I lived in Crown Heights had 2 entrances and like a park in the middle, projects over there. It was a wild, interesting time. Very different aesthetic than what I grew up with. Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I can't believe they've lived in that same house this whole time. Yeah. And that's what you're going to go back to. For a little bit. I really want to move into the apartments above the Pilates studio. So it's just easier, and I don't want to have to move again. It's like moving sucks. It's so tiring. Even getting movers, just going through your stuff, going through drawers. Again, I've been in this apartment complex for 8 years, and when I moved from upstairs to downstairs, I was just putting stuff in Trader Joe bags, Chinese. Really garbage bags.
Yeah.
Throwing it over. It's
literally. So it's that whole process of like purging and doing little by little, and also sometimes nothing at all because it's exhausting.
I know. Oh my God. Well, let's talk about Pilates and like how you got into that. Like obviously just being a dancer and like in tune with your body.
That's how I got to it, through dance. One of my dance teachers was really into calisthenics, and then she was introduced to Pilates. And after I graduated high school, I got mat certified at Ohio University with Power Pilates. And after I did that, I was able to teach like non-major group classes. I will teach Pilates mat classes to everybody. And then on my breaks, I started my reformer training because my old dance teacher opened up a Pilates studio in Pittsburgh in our area. And I did my reformer 1 with her, and then going back to school, I was able to train more with the reformer and on the Cadillac, taking classes at school. But then I completed my certification in a couple of years later, fully comprehensive through reformer, with this program called Carpe Diem, and that was at a Pilates / physical therapy studio in Connecticut. So I did a little segue in 2015. I moved from New York to Connecticut with my sister.
Oh my gosh.
For like 6 months, but prior to that, I was teaching at David Barton Gym. So like, Ohio University, Matt, did some Cadillac and Reformer there as well, and then started working. Went straight to grad school, continued training because they have a Pilates conditioning studio, they call it there. This man named Tom Welsh has this book called Conditioning for Dancers. Highly recommend it. You don't have to be a dancer, but it talks about progressive overload and just how to retrain your brain to help your body. Because like most of the stuff, it's like, oh, I don't need to stretch, I don't need to warm up, I can just get into it. These are not the same knees that I had when I was in grad school. Right. Like vividly remember doing a plie at the bar after a winter break, and I had to look down at my body like, wait a minute, I know this is the same thing, but what is happening?
One moment.
It will hit you in different ways. Like when you do something every single day, you can feel the shifts if you're really aware and intentional with how you do things. And I didn't learn how to move my body properly until I went to graduate school, really learning the mechanics of things and how to use my abs. So when I got to grad school, they had us do this screening to like see how flexible we were, see how strong our abs were. I was already a Pilates instructor, mind you.
Yes, you told me, yes.
And I had to be in a tabletop position, laying on my back. We were doing single leg toe taps. I was barely a level 1 ab. I could not keep my pelvis from moving. I couldn't keep my ribs down, lowering one thigh. And I knew that when I was doing my reformer training, but I figured if I was laying down, it would be different. But like one of the exercises, we had a half foam roller, maybe a full foam roller underneath, and trying to bring a knee up to a tabletop position on a foam roller.
Hard.
It is so hard because you always have one side that's a little bit more dominant in certain ways. Like there's not a strong side. There's not. They're both equally in need.
Right.
Just in different ways.
Yeah.
Moved to Connecticut, worked at the Pilates physical therapy studio. Thought I wanted to go back to school to become a physical therapist, but my very analytical parents were like, because I had the opportunity to do that in undergrad. My dad offered to buy me a car if I would have went to this school that was like an hour and a half from where we lived called Slippery Rock, and I could have got a PhD within 4 years and been a physical therapist. But I wasn't going that close to home. I needed to
you
spread
felt
the wings. Like, I need you to call me before you're driving. So I went like 3.5 hours away versus an hour and a half. But with Pilates, it kind of killed 2 stones.
Totally.
But I didn't do physical therapy. Instead, I ended up applying for Teach for America when I was in Connecticut. Because as much as I loved working at the physical therapy / Pilates studio, like I got to work on both sides as well. It wasn't enough money to be able to get my own place and like have a car and types of things.
Live.
Yeah. And I didn't have to pay rent yet. I was still living with my sister for a little bit of time. But it was such a great time, and my niece was still pretty young, and so like we have a lot of formative memories together. Like she still thinks I'm a kid, but it's fine. She's taller than me now. I can't believe it. Then I did a career change. I applied for Teach for America, and a lot of my friends from undergrad, they were teachers, and like they were no longer in the teaching sector, but like the people that ran Teach for America, I forget all the acronyms, but they basically told me the jargon on how to like get in through the door. I would say somebody's zip code matters. I didn't understand that until I started teaching in New York City, and then it made me reassess my whole life growing up and just my own zip code and like people that I would meet that were from my city but a different zip code, and just the different qualities or expectations of life. And you just don't know what people are going through, or what and why people do what they do. Right. It's all just cyclical based on what they're growing up around. Then I became a school teacher. but I did special education, so I could still stay within the Pilates realm. And
what does that mean?
So special education, you find like scaffolds for kids that need a little bit more. So you have the same learning objective, just how that kid learns it, whether it's like touching fuzzy things or whatever extra something they need, whether they're like really high on the spectrum, they need something that's going to keep them busy, that like extra work or a little topper, or if they need their work to be chunked and highlighted and done in different kinds of way, or like have a small group setting. So I'm always try to meet people where they are, because that's how we thrive. That's like a society, as like a person. Like a consistency doesn't look the same every day, and like what would work for little Timmy yesterday might not work today, because they didn't sleep well at night, and what's going on in somebody's personal life, especially with children, it really affects them on the outside. Like I've had kindergartners be so upset and come in angry, like with those Arthur fists. Like all you did was come off the bus. I don't know what happened before this, but let's have a great day. But I don't miss teaching education. I enjoyed it. It was an interesting time. I realized big groups like that, I don't do well in. People like think I'm a know-it-all, or I either rub people really well or not well at all. But I know that I can come off short, because like I've experienced a lot of life, and by the time I was at the end of my teaching career, I did that for like 7 years. You learn what works, you learn what doesn't work. Even teaching Pilates, like within the group situation, you learn how to set people up for success. And that's interesting. It's so similar to education, because when you teach a child something, when they do their independent work, you write down the criteria for success. You need to have your name on the paper, the date, do X, Y, and Z. The same thing applies with Pilates. And since it is an all-level class, even if it wasn't an all-level class, somebody's going to take that intermediate class or advanced class that doesn't need to be there. So you have to know how to
meet people where they are.
And scaffold for them as much as they don't want to. And sometimes you just have to move the spring for them. Sometimes you have to start the sentence for the child to help them carry on and keep going.
What's been the best part about teaching Pilates, and the most difficult or like challenging part?
The best part is not having to get in someone's can of worms to see their body and to understand the habits of why they're moving that way, the semantics of the body. The hardest thing, people following directions, you know, and like I'm all for doing what you want. I do that a time and a place, and I'm also not changing a whole exercise, but do what you want. Like you all have free agency, but then it confuses other people. But I've learned how to not be affected by it. I'm like, okay, that's what that person wants to do. That's their prerogative. That's what they need. It has nothing to do with me. And one thing that I love about Pilates is that it's forced me to be okay with not being for everybody, especially at NYP, where it's such a big machine of Pilates. I was seeing like at least 300 people a week, if not more than that. I won't do the math because it's overwhelming.
I can't do the math.
It's wild. But it was a lot of growing pains. So like when I've met people like you that I've connected with, I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to make sure I say hi to you and get to know you, because you saw me and made me feel comfortable. And while some days I'm having a hard time speaking and getting words out and figuring out what the directions are, having that grace for me keeps me comfortable and like wanting to continue to like give myself a service, where I've had a few people be like, I don't know what she's talking about, I'm leaving, getting up and going, or like
in the middle of class.
It hasn't happened too often, maybe 2 to 3 times. The most recent time was in February. I was teaching a weekend morning, and I'm so thankful that two of my clients that I've connected with similar to you.
Your advocates?
Yeah. Oh my God. The woman that was in between them, thank God she was there. I went over to like help her with her lunge because her knee was too far forward, which is also why I left Pilates, because you can like tell people why they're wrong and like, this is not safe, whatever, if you want to feel the muscles. But I went to her and went to like talk to her about her knee, and she was real snappy. And immediately she was like, I have knee problems. And I was like, okay, this will help for your knee. And she's like, I'm fine. And I was like, okay. And just hopped away. Whereas like another version of myself, and I'm like, oh my God, But I felt like just over analyzed it, been in my brain nonstop. And then we get to the plank after that lunge, and we get ready for the other side lunge, right? She just leaves, doesn't like change the machine back, and just leaves the classroom. I'm so grateful that those two women were around her, because at the end of the class, they're like, what was that? And had they not been there, I would have held on to that and like been thinking about it probably till this day type of sitch. Yeah. But because of the people that I've met and have shown that I care about and like enjoy them coming to class, they show up when I need them to be there.
And to remind you, like, oh, I am good at this. Like,
people
come to my class.
No, I did go to help her. She didn't ask for a modification.
Right.
And good riddance. Bye. Don't come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was going to ask you a question. I was going to ask what has something you've learned in doing Pilates, but like you just gave us the whole spiel.
Nothing is personal. I recently read last year the 4 Agreements, and I really, really love that book. It's so simple but very hard to live by. But if we can all just realize that anything anyone does is not personal to you. It is their perspective. It is their own reaction, maybe from trauma or whatever, just their own experience. Then I think people will be like a lot more kind to each other and kind to themselves too. You know? It's never personal.
I know. I struggle with that too. Like I'm definitely somebody that like ruminates on things that have happened months ago, days ago, weeks ago.
It's such a waste of energy unless you're taking a lesson from it to learn for the next time, but to sit in an emotion.
No, it's like the anxieties of like my manager like saying something snappy to me, and then I'm like, oh my God, do I need to talk to him about this? Like, am I in trouble?
Also, yes to advocating, but also sometimes just breathe through it. Emotions are not real.
And then I can just essentially I ignored this last situation. It just went away, and I was like, okay, totally not a big deal.
Because you're a sensitive person and you can feel things easily too, but sometimes it's not
productive.
Yeah, not every single battle. Yeah. And that's a hard part of being an emotive person, is that you can feel it all, and it's like, that's not right. There's always going to be shit that's ugly in the world. Like, there has to be that balance.
Right. And I feel like with you being super sensitive and like in touch with your emotions, you put yourself in positions that is probably the most uncomfortable for your regulatory system, because you're like having to be in front of all these different, not only men and women who are oftentimes way more judgmental.
Oh my gosh,
so many people coming through the door, so many people listening to you, following you, critiquing you, thinking like, what am I doing?
I've gotten bad comments. I've gotten 3s, I've gotten 2s and like stars and the app type of stuff. But the majority of it has been positive, and I'm not for everybody, and I'd rather have the right people be around me versus people that just pull energy from me.
Well, you know you're good at your job, and you know, so that's all that matters. You're like, okay, I'm not for everybody, but like I know I've been doing this for years. Like I didn't realize that you got trained so far back in college. Like,
I know. I forgot I taught Pilates. Like the only reason why I came back to Pilates was because someone messaged me on LinkedIn because their friends were opening a studio in Brooklyn, and they're like, do you want to teach? And I was like, oh yeah, forgot that's on here. So LinkedIn is long. And so that's what got me back into teaching reformer, and that was 2023. Right before I started NYP. That was like April 2023, and I started working at a studio in Brooklyn, and then I realized that I wanted to leave the education sector, and Well, that studio owner told me about New York Pilates. When I first taught Pilates here in the city, it was privates at like a gym where you go from the Cadillac to the Wonder Chair to the ladder barrel. It was never
these like sex things. What the heck
no,
is this?
I mean, Pilates does help with the sex. But the first studio that I taught like group reformer to, it had 7 people, and I did not use my loud and proud voice as I learned in education. I was just like very timid.
Yeah,
because there's like so many people. There's so many things that could happen. I don't want to teach short spine because people are not going to do it right, and then you're going to fucking hurt yourself, and then I feel horrible about that. But she put NYP on my radar. So like I was a school teacher for 7 years. I'm used to having a pension, health insurance. My parents are very much like that too. Right. And so NYP offered all of those things, and so I was able to transition and have everything that I need.
Why should somebody who's not doing Pilates do Pilates? Maybe you can break it up for a man and a woman. I don't know if you have a different reason.
No. The same reason, self-esteem, body awareness, like when you sit taller, when you have better posture, shut up. I mean, you see me too. First of all, these are so comfortable. I love these chairs. But when you sit up taller, like you feel better because like you can breathe better. Your lungs are able to function, like functionality. Like I shouldn't be sitting like this. Technically, feet should be on the floor, flat, hips back, kegeling, shoulders reaching back, and you still have the little space between your lower back and that chair, but you're actively pressing into the feet. So I think everyone should do Pilates to help with your self-esteem, help you with your body awareness, help you to mind your own goddamn business too. Because if you're so focused on yourself and your breathing in that 45 minutes, you can't think about anything else. And like, yes, that inner critic, that inner voice is going to come in, but then you learn how to train through it, whether it's like, I can't do this, what the fuck is happening, am I doing the right thing? That's what you should be thinking about the next 45 minutes, and that's like a meditation. So it brings you closer to your mind, your body, your spirit, because like it's all encapsulated like in your body. So I agree. Just need to do it, and it makes you stronger. Helps you in the sexy time area because like you pelvic floor, you can like work your pelvis better. It's actually
like, whoa, this is
very sexual. It is, but it's not meant to be that way. Just because the body, like it's you're working your muscles and your bones. Joseph Pilates, he actually called the practice contrology, controlology. And so it's about control. Literally, men should do it because it was made by a man that was very militant.
That's a bummer. I'm like, I thought it was a woman, but not.
I mean, look how we've taken over. So whatever. We've made it better. Because even his prodigies, one of them, her name is Kathy Stanford Grant. She was a dancer for the Follies here in New York City. It was like one of the first black Broadway musicals here in New York, and she got injured, and one of her dance colleagues told her about Joseph Pilates, and so she started training with him, and she rehabilitated her knee, was able to go dance again, and he ended up certifying her and this other woman named Lolita, and
she knows her history.
Girl, but Joseph is from, I believe, Germany. I could be wrong about that, but he was there, like, was a prisoner of war. But there's, like, I think about war drums. Like, it's not very rhythmic, and it's very, like, bland. But Kathy Stanford Grant, she went to Africa with Harry Belafonte whenever he did his studies over there. And that's where like the counting for the 100 came in, the one, you know, like it's rhythmic, and like literally women make everything better. And Joseph would do a lot of cues for men. If you like go to YouTube and look up Joseph Pilates Jacob Pillow, you'll see a whole bevy of men in hot black shorts doing like what Joseph would do with Pilates, because it was a lot of boxing repertoire, a lot of yoga involved, and because of the dancers that would come, that's when the practice like became
commercialized
a little bit more. And New York, like he was here in New York, like on Fifth Avenue, teaching Pilates. But again, he didn't call it Pilates method. No one really believed him when he was here. It's like after he passed away, that's when it became really riveting.
And then what are the different types of Pilates? There's
classical Pilates and traditional Pilates.
Okay.
But you can do Pilates on the mat. You can do it on a reformer. There's so many different machines. There's suspension straps as well. Not TRX. My Pilates mentor had them at her own studio. There's the jump board. You have the wall tower unit. They used to have them at NYP, and some studios have the towers on the back of the reformer. But you can also get them mounted onto a wall with wood.
The big?
Yeah.
What's that huge thing called?
That's the wall tower.
That's just what it's called? Okay.
Yeah. And it goes
But there's
against
like
the
mega
wall.
former, there's former.
But that's not technically, mega formers are not Pilates.
Oh.
Like, legally, they can't be called that because it's based off of Pilates, but it's a completely different machine where it's like handlebars like this on the chair on both sides of it. And the springs are different. It's inspired by Pilates, like Lagree, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's inspired by it, but it's not Pilates. You can use the principles of it.
Wait, so what's Lagree?
It is like the Mega Reformer, but I think like they've coined it the Lagree machine. It's similar but different. I have no idea. I haven't looked into it. Yeah. I did SLT when they first opened here. One of my Pilates friends was doing it, and I did like a one-on-one class where she was like still doing her training, and then I went to a group class maybe a few months or a year later, and I sprained my groin. And I've always been like aware of my body, but because the class moves so fast and it's like you're counting down, but I'm over here, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what this machine is, what handle, what am I grabbing? And it just it's for some people. I prefer something like New York Pilates or something that's a little bit more traditional. Where when I say traditional, I mean more of the mind-body connection, because like if you go to a smaller studio, you're spending 5-6 minutes in the warm-up, and that includes 6 to 7 breaths into marching, one leg at a time. And then the knees
not
up.
Hard. I'm like, you're just not doing it right.
Exactly. Like, you're supposed to move slow. It's supposed to be the mind-body connection.
Your
That's what
core
Joseph...
should literally be activated the entire time.
Exactly. When you're breathing, you're kegeling, your armpits are pressing down. Because if not, your body starts to go into its own habits and starts, like, doing God knows what.
Right.
But I don't think there's one that's better than the other. I think it's good to practice both, because like traditional Pilates will fucking humble you. But the cues that Joe would give were more for men, because like, you know, their waistline, their center of gravity is lower or higher than ours, and so some of his cues wouldn't make sense for us. So that's when the women came along and helped with like zip your belly to your spine. That's from Kathy Stanford Grant, and she used to teach at NYU like all the way up until the 2000s, and she ended up having arthritis because like she would manually move people. And so I don't do that kind of hands-on feedback for some people. First of all, I have to know you, I have to like you, I have to want to touch you in that way. Some people I'm just gonna give you like, show you on my body what you need to do on your body. You know, but how you do it is what matters. And if you want to take an SLT class, do that. Just be safe.
You know? What's the other one that everybody's doing for the really popular one?
Solid core. Yeah.
So you guys don't mingle with any of those teachers?
I know that there's a few solid core girlies, curl, that are Pilates instructors. I'm not particularly close with them. I do know Trap House just opened, and they have like a treadmill situation or weight training and a mega reformer. I probably won't have time to go take a class, but I'm also okay with that because I've experienced a mega reformer, and I like the reformer. I like the regular reformer. There's enough.
I like knowing that I can like drop and not like fall in between the machines.
Exactly. I almost fell today on the machine, so I was trying to come out of the thing, and I did. I was put one of your dad. I kept the straps in my hands.
Literally. Unreal. For those of you listening, I brought my mom and my dad to Tabytha's New York Pilates class. My mom rocked it because she does Pilates.
So did your dad. Shut up.
My dad, yeah, he fell and was still holding the straps in his hand and ended up smashing on the very back of the machine with these straps still in his hands, holding them. And nobody turned. Not a single frickin' person turned around. I was actually shook. That's why I was laughing even harder. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with these ladies? My dad literally smashed back. It was so loud. You stopped teaching and you were like, are you okay? The bitches are still doing their bicep curls. I'm like, what? Did they know not to turn around and embarrass him? It was actually kind of nice, but I was like, what? Do you have AirPods in?
Some people do. I've seen that in class before. I'm like, are you listening to me?
What the heck?
Yes, girl, but no, it's a very peculiar clientele, I will say.
It
It's
is.
all different walks of life, and
is.
I'm so grateful for that, and just grateful that I got to work in Manhattan, because while I've been here, I've mostly worked in Brooklyn outside of the gym back in early 2013, 2014. But to be able to get out of Brooklyn, like be able to see all of the buildings and remind myself that I live in New York, it's so easy to get stuck in your own little world. Oh, I have to remind myself that even today. And I was like, on my way to work, I'm like, oh, look at the city.
I know.
So
people
pretty.
dream of living here. People travel here from all over the world.
And I got to do that. I've got to meet so many people. I got to meet Australian people, British people, African people, and
how people work on themselves and get stronger.
Yes.
It's like such a gratifying.
I'm so grateful. That's the emotion that I will sit in, is gratitude. That is one that like brings more joyous things.
Absolutely.
You know, it doesn't take away the anxiety of like doing something new or having a to-do list that never ends, because that's always going to be there. It's like, what else are you going to do? Do it afraid, do it scared, and just do it.
Absolutely. Why else are we here? Like, make it interesting. Why don't we?
Girl, some people are here not to evolve, unfortunately.
That's true.
But for those of us that want to do better and like put a positive imprint in the world, then we keep persevering and pushing forward.
Yes. Well, where can people find you? Do you have a name for your new studio? Or
it's going to be called Pittsburgh Pilates, pushing P.
What a great PT.
I'm also launching a YouTube channel. It's going to be called Body by Bates. So you can find me on Instagram. I still have the newsletter coming along, and going to be posting some mat Pilates based on the astrology. That's my niche.
Amazing.
On YouTube. So subscribe, hit the bell.
Oh my god, yeah. No, I will. A lot of my mom's friends are always looking for like free online. And there's only that one big woman on YouTube that did Pilates. You've probably seen her before. Marie. She's huge, and she like had like super just scrappy videos that she would film in her home.
I don't know. I'm not.
I'll show you her.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, Body by Bates. You heard it here. I'm so excited to come try your Pilates studio. It's so amazing.
Yes,
you're a new business owner. That's amazing.
In disbelief, but just grateful, and like keep 1% each day, a little bit better. 1%.
They're gonna love you over there.
Thanks.
It's gonna be so great. Thank you so much for coming
on
and sharing your story. I love you.
I love you.